Ever met someone who just gets you? Like, really gets you? Deep down, in the places most people never even glance? Someone who listens like they're reading your soul, offers advice that feels like pure gold, and radiates this quiet, almost mysterious calm? Yeah, that's the INFJ magic. We're talking about the rarest personality type, the advocates, idealists, healers, the ones who carry the weight of the world on their shoulders and somehow make it look graceful. But what happens when that healer disappears? I mean, really disappears? When the door closes, the phone goes silent, and the me time stretches from hours to days to weeks, becoming their entire world. What brews in the profound silence of an INFJ's mind when they cut everyone off? Spoiler alert, it ain't always sunshine and deep thoughts. In fact, an INFJ who always chooses absolute solitude, that, my friends, is where things get dangerous. Seriously dangerous. Not necessarily in a grab-a-pitchfork way, but in ways that can shatter lives, warp reality, and unleash a storm no one saw coming. Stick around, because we're diving deep into the shadowy corners of the INFJ mind in isolation. This isn't about bashing introverts. This is about understanding the volatile chemistry that happens when deep sensitivity meets extreme, unbroken solitude. Let's uncover why that INFJ you haven't heard from in weeks might be sitting on a psychological powder keg. 1. The INFJ Paradox. Depth meets detachment. Let's get real about the INFJ baseline. These folks are walking contradictions. They crave deep, meaningful connection like oxygen. Seriously, authentic intimacy is their lifeblood. Yet, they also possess an almost overwhelming need for solitude to process the sheer intensity of their inner world and the emotional static they pick up from others. It's like having a supersensitive antenna constantly tuned into everyone's emotional frequency. No wonder they need to unplug. This balancing act, connecting deeply then retreating to recharge, is usually healthy. It's their natural rhythm. But when that retreat becomes permanent, when the recharge button gets stuck, that's when the inherent INFJ depth starts curdling into something else entirely. The detachment isn't just physical anymore. It becomes existential. 2. The Crumbling Bridge. How isolation erodes empathy. Yes, really. This might sound crazy. An INFJ losing empathy? Their defining superpower? But hear me out. INFJ empathy isn't passive. It's an active, engaged process. It thrives on interaction, on reading micro-expressions, hearing vocal nuances, feeling the energy shift in a room. It's calibrated through real-time feedback. When an INFJ walls themselves off completely, that calibration goes haywire. Their rich inner world, fueled only by their own thoughts, memories, and projections, becomes the sole source of reality. Without the tempering effect of actual human interaction, their understanding of others starts to warp. They might think they know exactly what someone else is feeling or thinking, but it's increasingly based on internal narratives, past hurts, or idealized or demonized versions of people, not the messy, changing reality. That profound empathy risks turning into a distorted echo chamber of their own making. 3. The pressure cooker mind, where thoughts fester and magnify. Imagine the INFJ mind as this incredibly sophisticated, high-pressure processing unit. Normally, solitude allows it to sort through complex emotions, insights, and plans. It's productive, but in constant isolation. There's no release valve. Thoughts, especially negative ones, perceived slights, worries about the future, disappointments, moral outrage, don't get aired out. They get recycled, amplified, chewed over endlessly without any external perspective to say, hey, maybe you're catastrophizing a bit? Or, did they really mean it that way? A minor irritation can fester into seething resentment. A legitimate concern can balloon into apocalyptic dread. That incredible capacity for deep thought becomes a trap, turning their inner sanctuary into a pressure cooker where anxieties and grievances simmer until they reach boiling point. And an INFJ's boiling point? It's intense. 4. Idealism turned toxic, the birth of the righteous fury. INFJs are driven by powerful inner values and a fierce desire to make the world better. This noble, truly, but locked away in solitude, that beautiful idealism can sour. Without the grounding influence of everyday interactions and compromises, their vision of how things should be becomes rigid, absolute. They start viewing the outside world not just as flawed, which it is, but as fundamentally wrong, corrupt, or even maliciously opposed to their ideals. Anyone who doesn't align perfectly with their internal blueprint, anyone contributing to the perceived brokenness, becomes part of the problem. This breeds a potent, dangerous cocktail. Righteous fury. They feel morally superior, justified in their anger, and utterly disconnected from the practical realities and nuances of human behavior they are no longer observing firsthand. Their solitude fuels a conviction that they alone see the truth. 5. The shadow self emerges, meeting the darker reflection. Carl Jung talked about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress, deny, or find unacceptable. For the healthy INFJ, their warmth and empathy help integrate this shadow. But prolonged extreme isolation is like shining a single harsh spotlight in a dark room. It throws the shadow into sharp, grotesque relief. Cut off from the balancing forces of relationships and external feedback, the INFJ's own negative traits, the capacity for intense judgment, stubbornness, passive aggression, even vindictiveness, aren't tempered. They can grow unchecked. That deep sensitivity can flip into extreme oversensitivity and paranoia. Their desire for perfection can morph into harsh, unforgiving criticism of self and others. The quiet strength can become cold, immovable stubbornness. The isolated INFJ isn't just alone. They're increasingly alone with this amplified, darker aspect of themselves, who starts calling more of the shots. 6. Decision-making in a vacuum. When intuition goes rogue, INFJs rely heavily on their dominant function, introverted intuition, NI. It's their visionary compass, spotting patterns and foreseeing possibilities. It's brilliant when informed by real-world data gathered through their auxiliary function, extrovert feeling fey. But in perpetual solitude, that NI engine is running on fumes, old data, internal projections, and unchecked assumptions. Decisions, even major life-altering ones, are made entirely within this closed loop. They might impulsively cut someone off based on an imagined slight their intuition confirmed. They might quit a job, end a relationship, or make a drastic move based on a catastrophic future they've entirely constructed in their head, devoid of practical checks and balances. Their intuition, untethered from empathy and real-time social feedback, becomes a rogue oracle, leading them down paths that seem perfectly logical inside the bubble, but are disastrously out of sync with reality. 7. The relationship fallout, ghosting, resentment, and unspoken wars. You can bet this isolation doesn't happen in a vacuum affecting only the INFJ. The people who care about them, partners, family, close friends, are left bewildered and hurt. The INFJ might withdraw without explanation, leaving others feeling abandoned, confused, and blamed. Their internal resentment, brewing in solitude, often leaks out as passive aggression, icy silence, or sudden, disproportionate outbursts over minor things. They might construct elaborate narratives in their heads about how others have failed them, becoming hypersensitive to perceived criticism or lack of understanding. Attempts by loved ones to reach out can be met with walls of silence or misinterpreted as intrusion or pressure. Relationships fracture, often silently, leaving a trail of emotional wreckage the isolated INFJ may be completely blind to, or worse, feel entirely justified in creating. It's an unspoken war where only one side knows the battle lines. 8. The physical toll, mind-body connection under siege. We can't ignore the body. That intense mental and emotional pressure cooker doesn't stay confined to the mind. Chronic stress from unresolved internal turmoil, anxiety, and repressed anger takes a brutal physical toll. We're talking severe burnout, beyond just needing a nap. Think adrenal fatigue, tanked immune systems leading to constant illness, crippling insomnia where the mind just won't shut off, debilitating tension headaches, or digestive issues. The gut is the second brain. After all, the INFJ's natural sensitivity makes them more susceptible to these stress-related physical manifestations. Their body literally becomes the battleground for the war raging inside their isolated psyche, screaming what they might be refusing to acknowledge or voice. 9. The illusion of self-sufficiency, a trap in disguise. One of the most seductive dangers of perpetual solitude for the INFJ is the illusion of complete self-sufficiency. I don't need anyone, they might tell themselves. I handle things best alone. And in the short term, retreating might feel like relief. But this is a dangerous mirage. Humans are wired for connection, and INFJs, despite their introversion, especially need authentic connection to stay emotionally and psychologically healthy. That handling it alone often means just bottling it up, not processing it healthily. The illusion of self-sufficiency prevents them from seeking the support, perspective, or simple human warmth they desperately need, deepening their isolation and fueling the negative cycles. It's pride disguised as strength, and it's a prison. 10. The potential for manipulation, unconscious or otherwise. This is a tough one, but it needs saying. An INFJ deep in unhealthy isolation, fueled by righteous anger and a warped sense of reality, can become surprisingly manipulative. It's rarely calculated evil. It's often born from their distorted empathy and desperate need to control an environment that feels chaotic and threatening. They might use guilt, after all I've done for you, silent treatment, or carefully crafted words designed to make others feel responsible for their pain or see things their way. Their deep understanding of human motivation, gained through years of observation, can be weaponized unconsciously to maneuver people into meeting their, often unspoken, needs or validating their distorted worldview. It's the dark flip side of their natural insight and desire for harmony, control through emotional leverage. 11. When the storm breaks, the unpredictable outburst, all that pressure, resentment, distorted thinking, and bottled emotion can't stay contained forever. The danger often manifests not in careful planning, but in sudden volcanic eruptions. An INFJ known for their calm and compassion can unleash a torrent of pent-up fury, cutting critiques or devastating truths, as they see them, that seem to come from nowhere. It's shocking, disproportionate, and leaves everyone reeling. These outbursts can permanently damage relationships, careers, and reputations. Because it's so unexpected, it's incredibly destabilizing for everyone involved. The INFJ might feel a momentary release, but it's usually followed by profound shame, regret, and a retreat into even deeper isolation, reinforcing the destructive cycle. It's the pressure cooker exploding. 12. The descent into cynicism and misanthropy. Perhaps one of the saddest dangers is the erosion of the INFJ's defining hope. Constant isolation, feeding on negativity and perceived human failings, can slowly extinguish their innate idealism. That deep desire to heal and help can curdle into profound cynicism. They might start believing humanity is inherently selfish, stupid, or beyond saving. This misanthropy, a distrust or hatred of humankind, is the antithesis of the healthy INFJ spirit. It's a defense mechanism, a way to justify their withdrawal and protect themselves from further disappointment. But it's a prison sentence, locking them away not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, from the very connections that could reignite their light. They risk becoming the embodiment of the darkness they once sought to dispel. 13. It's not solitude, it's unhealthy isolation. Spotting the red flags. Crucially, this isn't about INFJs needing alone time. They absolutely do. It's about recognizing when healthy solitude crosses the line into dangerous isolation. Red flags include complete withdrawal, cutting off all meaningful contact, not just limiting it. A persistent negativity. Conversations, if they happen, are dominated by bitterness, judgment, or despair. Rejecting all support, brushing off genuine concern or offers of help with "I'm fine" or hostility. Reality distortion. Expressing beliefs about people or situations wildly inconsistent with observable facts. A physical deterioration. Noticeable decline in health, energy, or self-care, a loss of purpose, abandoning passions, goals, or anything that once brought joy, emotional volatility, uncharacteristic outbursts, or extreme passive aggression. 14. Breaking the cycle, pathways back to connection if they choose it. Reversing this dangerous spiral is tough and only possible if the INFJ recognizes the problem and wants to change. It requires conscious effort, the micro-connections, starting tiny, a brief text, a short walk with one trusted person. No pressure for deep talks immediately. A therapy, crucial. A skilled therapist can provide a safe space to unpack the distorted thinking, process repressed emotions, and learn healthy coping mechanisms. CBT or DBT can be particularly helpful. A re-engaging FA, extrovert, feeling purposefully practicing empathy outside their head. Volunteering, even quietly, observing people without judgment, practicing active listening with a safe person. A physical grounding, exercise, yoga, spending time in nature, anything to get out of the head and into the body. Challenging thoughts, learning to question the catastrophic narratives and assumptions their isolated mind creates. Is this thought true? What's the evidence? Is there another perspective? Accepting imperfection, letting go of the rigid idealism and accepting the messy, imperfect reality of people and the world, including themselves. Conclusion. So why is the INFJ who always chooses solitude so dangerous? It's not because they're inherently bad or malicious. Far from it. It's precisely because of their profound depth, their intense empathy, and their powerful idealism. These incredible gifts, when deprived of the essential nutrients of human connection, perspective, and grounded reality, can ferment into something toxic. Like a finely tuned instrument left in a damp, dark room, their strengths warp and corrode. The danger lies in the silent amplification of negativity, the birth of a rigid and unforgiving righteousness, the unleashing of the shadow self, and the potential for unpredictable eruptions that shatter relationships and lives. It's the slow death of hope and the rise of corrosive cynicism. It's the transformation of the healer into a casualty of their own isolation, potentially causing deep collateral damage. This isn't a condemnation of INFJs or their need for solitude. It's a crucial wake-up call. Solitude is their sanctuary. Perpetual isolation is their psychological trap. Recognizing the difference, for the INFJ themselves and for those who love them or is vital. The path back is challenging, requiring courage to reconnect, seek help, and challenge the distorted realities built in silence. But reclaiming that connection isn't just about avoiding danger. It's about reclaiming the INFJ's true power, the power to understand, to heal, and to inspire, grounded in the world they are meant to help shape. The storm within can be calmed, but only by opening the door, just a crack, to let the outside world back in.